What's going on, everyone? Hope everyone is doing well here and at home. We got the virus is spreading like crazy. My wife's school, actually, like her grade, she teaches eighth grade and the seventh grade. They're all remote until next week. So when we come back actually, they come back on Tuesday. We come back on Wednesday, but Tuesday they're scheduled to go back to in-person classes. But right now they just have so many cases. Thankfully, we just have a few people at home. Hopefully, it stays that way. But just in case, recording these lessons, and if you're here, we got a early release day. But I think we've talked about this before. It's I go home just as tired from the day because pretty much we just don't have lunch and we don't have recess and we don't have silent reading math time. But sounds like somebody's yelling in the hall. hmm. I'm sure it's nothing. I'm sure it's fine. But we're here to read Crash. Hopefully we've already had the discussion about what happened yesterday. She's snooping around. Is she a stalker? Is she not? A little bit, I would say. And now she's going to be faced with a big dilemma that we'll get into like right here on this first page. Chapter 11. So she knows that that building is going to explode. That was the last line we read. This building is going to explode. The question is when. And remember, from her point of view, we know exactly what's going on. If you step outside of her point of view, just think if somebody at school said, "Hey, this building is going to explode," you're like, well, okay. First of all, how do you know this? Did you plant the device? There's a whole bunch of, no, I had a dream about it. Oh, okay, sure. So we're inside her head. And I mean, maybe we believe her, maybe we don't, but you can't exactly tell other people, hey, I know this building's going to explode. Okay. How do you know it? Who's responsible for it? All right, I'm gonna put my glasses on just so I can see a little better. But when and what am I supposed to do? Wander around telling people to stay away from Agnauti's because it's gonna blow? I point my headlight at the building, and with the aid of the streetlights and building lamps, plus the light coming through the restaurant windows, I stare at it, thinking about the scene I've watched dozens of times. There's the evergreen and white striped awning, top of the next column, solidly attached above the back entrance. The windows above, definitely an apartment, probably where Sawyer and his parents live, just like our family. There's a glow up there, maybe from night lights or hallway light left on while they work the wedding reception. I look into the wide restaurant window and see happy people at the tables, but all I can think about is the truck crashing into them and glass flying. I see Sawyer walk past like a blur. I know that walk, that flip of his head, that easy, tossed off smile that charms all the teachers. Not me. Only that crooked, real smile charms me. I think about it. I think about him, and my stomach quakes so hard that an aftershock runs down my thighs. I swallowed hard. Don't die, I whisper, but I don't know how to save him. In my head, I check off everything that's supposed to be in this picture. The only things I don't see are the light fixtures hanging down over the window tables. They probably had to hook them up to the ceiling to change the seating arrangement for the special event. And I realize that probably means it won't happen tonight, at least. A shuddering sigh escapes my throat, and I realize I've been so tensed up, I barely have a neck anymore. I drop my shoulders, take a breath, trying to shake it off. Hang on. We Let me pause here to talk about how there is a complication here because her two families don't like each other. I glance at the pizza next to me, knowing I've got to get it delivered before the customer calls to complain. That would make Trey freak out. I take one last look at the building, top of the next column. Even faded, the black words painted on the side are clear without the veil of snow. Agnauti's Trattoria, established 1934. a year before ours. They've always been a step ahead of us, and we've been chasing them ever since. I look for one last glimpse of Sawyer, but he's nowhere to be seen, and then drive out of the parking lot to deliver this pizza. Luckily, the roads are good, and I hit almost all the lights green. I call Trey and get his voicemail. I'm on the way back, no problems. Biggest lie of the century. In the middle of the night, the vision runs through my dreams. I startle and sit straight up in bed, wide awake, with one thought on my mind: snow. Oh my God. I say, don't be so stupid, Jules. In the scene, it's snowing. And in class B, a couple of people have been saying this for a while. Like, you got to watch the weather. The snow is going to be a big clue. Maybe the next snowstorm. In her bed, Rowan lifts her head off the pillow. I can see her sleepy face scrunched up, confused. Huh? I glance at her, but my mind is occupied. Sorry, go to sleep. Obediently, she drops her head back on the pillow and is asleep again a moment later. I sneak out to the living room, move a pile of newspapers from the desk chair, and flip on the computer, hoping the sound is on mute like it's supposed to be. Takes forever, but finally the page loads. I dim the screen and search for the weather forecast, top of the next column. When I find it, I pull up the extended forecast, and all I can do is stare. There's a chance of snow 9 out of the next 10 days. Wow, that's just great. I'm so disgusted. I turned the computer off without shutting it down properly, which really pissed Rowan off. And then I just sit there in the dark, wondering how much time I have to solve this life or death puzzle, and wondering how I'm going to convince people who hate us that I'm trying to save their lives, because I saw a vision of their restaurant, which supposedly my family has hated for generations, exploding. Yeah, that's going to be easy. And that's what we were talking about a little bit before. It's like the worst person, I mean, at least from the worst family possible, like the worst person to try to convince them that their building is going to explode. And the two families hate each other. They're probably thinking, ooh, sabotage. Yeah, right. Police would be called, I'm sure. So she's got to be very delicate about this. All right, let's get back to some more reading. Hopefully everybody is excited about that. Chapter 12, page 37. When I get up in the morning, I hardly have time to think about it, because today is one of the busiest Sundays on the pizza delivery calendar. Super Bowl. And this might take place, just if there are any football fans in here, I know there are. This might take place at the end of January. If you remember, like MLK Day was like a couple weeks before. Now the Super Bowl is played isn't the first Sunday in February? Yeah, for a long time, like when I was growing up, it was always towards the end of January. But they've added a wild card weekend. They've added a couple extra regular season games. So keep pushing the season longer and longer. That's why some of the players don't like it. The more you play football, the more possibility there is to be injured, the more possibility your career will be cut short, the more possibility you won't have money. All right. 12. When I get up in the morning, I hardly have time to think about it, because today is one of the busiest Sundays on the pizza delivery calendar. Super Bowl. Mom and Dad and Rowan go to Mass, so it sounds like they are somewhat religious. Now, don't want to stereotype, but we need to think about where the whole family is from. I don't want to say too much. Maybe I'll pause just with that little glimpse of Mass. Maybe you think like, okay. Kind of connect the dots. I'll pause here. All right. So a real quick explanation, just in case we didn't come up with it. They are Italian. Don't want to stereotype, but Catholics, Italian, the Pope, Italy. Now, the Pope doesn't live in Italy, but he lives in Vatican City, which is like an enclave in Italy. Like the Vatican City. I think it's the smallest country in the world, completely surrounded by Italy. But Italy has a strong history of having Catholics in that country. I have a couple Italian friends. It is changing, just like in this country. There aren't as many people going to church as there were at one time in this country. So religion, I think, around the world is kind of fading. But three of the families still go to church. And you can imagine maybe why Trey and Jules have said, not going to do it. Maybe I'll pause again if there's any predictions. But if not, let's keep rolling here. Mom and Dad and Rowan go to Mass. Trey and I won't go anymore out of protest. If the church won't accept my brother, they can't have me either. Mom and Dad support our decision. I wish they'd join us, but old habits are hard to break, and their religious fear runs deep. Top of the next column. They'll come around eventually, I think. I mean, we don't really talk about it. They're not horrible like some parents, but it still hurts Trey. Rowan wants to stay home too and protest too, but they won't let her till she's 16, and then she can decide. But I don't have time to think about that either. Trey and I get our homework done, meet Tony in the restaurant at 10 to start making dough and chopping vegetables. My mind wanders as we work in silence. Everybody is a little sleepy this morning. I wonder if Sawyer is doing the same thing I am today. Sometimes I picture him and me working in a kitchen together like this. We'll be laughing and flirting and leaving sweet little messages to each other on the cutting board and words made from green pepper slices. And I hate when I do that because it hurts so much when reality comes crashing down on my little scene. It always does. I wish I could stop liking him. God, I just can't. I pulverize the hell out of a mushroom and have to put my knife down for a minute before I cut all my fingers off. Everything okay over there? Tony asks. I feel sorry for your cutting board. You didn't mean anything by it. I grin. Yeah, everything's great. I shake my hands, letting the anxiety flow out of them and pick up the knife again. Ignati's is bigger and has more employees than we do. I think Sawyer has two older brothers, but Sawyer is the only one left living at home, and I'm not sure if his brothers still work there. All I know is that Sawyer doesn't have to work quite as many nights as I do, because I overhear him at school talking about places he's gone, dances he's been to, parties, stuff like that. But I bet he's working today. I shouldn't say I have to work as much as I do. Mom would give me a night off anytime if I asked, but I don't have a life or really many friends, no close friends anyway, unless you count Trey. So I figure I may as well earn some tips for college because there won't be enough money to go around for all three of us. Today, I'm actually kind of excited to work. It's my first Super Bowl doing delivery. I remember last year, Trey was insane. Our cousin Nick, Mary's son, helped out as a backup driver like he does sometimes. This year, the backup driver is me. Last night, after my successful delivery, I told Mom I was ready. She was a little skeptical, but I think I convinced her I'm fine. So she called Nick and told him he had the night off, which he seemed really happy about. So they need me. By the time Mom, Dad, and Rowan get down to the restaurant after Mass, the phone is ringing off the hook with big pre-orders for later. It's funny. Sometimes I see how it is at fast food restaurants on those reality cooking shows when the aspiring chefs are slammed and yelled at constantly. Probably something like Hell's Kitchen or something like that. Everybody's running around, top of the next column, not communicating, and it's super tense. Usually somebody's barking out orders and everybody hates that guy. Here at DeMarco's, we sort of go into superhero mode when we're slammed, and it's really pretty fun. Today, Trey and I play a game to try to get Rowan to laugh when she's on the phone, because if we can really get her going, she'll snort. Hey, Trey, do you want to see? I say. Harry Potter? No, boobies. I crack up. And Tony shakes his head and gives a reluctant laugh. But Rowan stays concentrated on her phone order. Probably not hard to do since that wasn't that funny. I don't get it. And it takes a while to get her to get her loose enough. Apparently today is not that day. Wait, did I read that? She's always wound up pretty tight. We knew that about her. Apparently today is not that day. By the time the lunch crowd dwindles and we're all in the kitchen stocking up supplies and making boxes and chopping more veggies, Rowan is answering call after call, ignoring us while we're making dumb .com and that's what she said jokes after every 12-inch meatball sub order she reads back. Yet in the back of my mind, I'm agonizing, wondering if tonight is the night. When it's time to start, we get serious. I'll take the east side deliveries, I say to Trey. I know the streets better. I lean against the door with my first loaded up pizza sweater. That's what Tony calls the insulating bag. Trey shrugs, distracted by a crap ton of orders that are piling up. That's fine. Well, we need to move it. Don't speed, but don't linger. I know, I say. I'm heading out. With a wave, I push out the back door into the cold, snowy afternoon. I try to drive by Ignati's every chance I get. All right, a real quick story. You probably story time, Mr. Watson, cut it out. I think there's at least one person that likes the story, so I will tell another one. It's a fairly short one, but pretty soon, and maybe already happened. I don't know, but you will be working. Oh, who knows with COVID, but probably wearing a mask or something. But you'll be working, and your first job most likely will be working with the public. So maybe at a store, taking orders somewhere, restaurant, clothing store. I've kind of done it all. I've worked at Shaw's in the seafood department. I worked at American Eagle, and I worked at like a diner serving tables. So I've done a lot of work. I worked at a shoe store. So the problem sometimes is when it's slow, there aren't a lot of customers, time drags. You're like, but when it's busy, you are working fast and you're working hard, and it can get tiring. But a lot of times, like an hour goes by and you don't even realize it. So I understand what Jules is saying. Like sometimes you'd rather be busy than kind of slow. So just keep that in mind. Your first job is probably I think my very first job was a car. Yeah, my first job was a car wash. I worked at Yvonne's Car Wash right by the bridge, like right when you go into Lewiston. Not fun, but I had some good laughs there. Good times. I sounded really old when I said good laughs. Yeah, we had some fun though. Yeah. All right. Stupid story. Maybe I'll tell it in class if anybody cares. But then I'll probably be like, don't just come on. I just want to get out of class. Let's go. All right.